We're now getting multiple reliable sources claiming they know what's going to happen with next year's Apple Watch, although a healthy amount of skepticism is completely justified after the belly flop of Series 7 leaks that all suggested one thing was going to happen and then basically the complete opposite happened. So Apple making a more rugged, durable version of the Apple Watch that's separate from the SE and separate from the Series 8. How is this supposed to work? What could it look like and what features could it be rocking? That's what we're talking about today. Let's begin. Durability is not usually something Apple cares much about, you know? I was kind of surprised back in Series 1 and Series 2 days that Apple was actually advertising with lots of their new hardware, hey, this is water resistant. And in the past, Apple had never really talked much about how durable their products were, never really bragging about water resistance. It was really the Apple Watch that kind of started showcasing how Apple can build devices that can be okay after getting wet, and the Apple Watch has even pushed that further, with the steel options and the Apple Watch editions rocking sapphire-infused glass, which are prone to much less scratching. I've owned sapphire watches for years, and the glass is still in pristine condition even after really rugged use, and the only reason they don't do that on the iPhones is because it's more prone to shattering when dropped, which iPhones are more commonly dropped. Apple Watches you wear, so they don't care too much about how good the Apple Watch is at resisting shatters when drops because they know that doesn't happen as much. So I'm of course very confused by a lot of these reports when I'm hearing about Apple working on this more durable, rugged version, which now Ming-Chi Kuo and Mark Gurman have said that's what one of the watches in 2022 is being planned for. Because I'm kind of like, how exactly do you make the Apple Watch more durable than it currently is? I mean, they just improved the crack resistance on the Series 7, so someone offers you drugs, the watch doesn't want it, but also if you drop it, it's less likely to crack, which I honestly didn't find the Apple Watch too prone to cracking anyway, and they're still using the sapphire infused glass on the steel and Apple Watch Edition models. So what is this rugged watch supposed to do? Well, the only amount of information we've mostly got around it is that it's supposed to have improved impact shock resistance, kind of like some shock resistant Casio watches out there, and it's meant to be catered towards rock climbers or mountain bikers or people that basically end up banging their watch against the edge of cliffs and rocks all the time. And maybe they're planning on using some type of different material. I've seen some people suggest that they bring the ceramic shield that we have on iPhones to the Apple Watch, but in my experience, the ceramic shield is still more prone to scratches than the traditional sapphire infused glass. And I don't really know how you get much more durable than traditional steel or aluminum or titanium. All of these things do look really cool, but frankly age really well. My wife still uses a stainless steel Series 3. I know, she can live with the bezels, but as you can tell, my wife is comfortable with looking at ugly things every day. So the Series 3 doesn't bother her, but the steel has aged fairly well, and the glass does not have a single scratch on it after all of these years. So my thought process is maybe Apple is going with an exterior that can't be too bulky, because, you know, I always imagine all of these crappy cases that get attached to Apple Watches that I don't see anyone use, but there's people that are just like, well, I get a OtterBox for my phone, so now I gotta get some bulky rubberized case for my watch, and it makes it way bigger. So I think what might be smart for them to do is find a way of using that same type of durable, either carbon fiber or intense plastic or rubberized material that can still, you know, feel solid and rigid, but not take up as much space as those huge bulky cases. Maybe this could be the flat glass that so much of us were hearing about, because of course everyone wants to know what happened to that squared off Apple Watch design and why didn't Apple move forward with it. Perhaps having a flat glass on the front instead of that curved back, while making the watch more ugly and bulky, could result in the glass being far more durable and maybe still using infused sapphire, but even less prone to crack resisting, which is just weird considering the Series 7 already prioritized that. Now they're prioritizing that again with one of these watches, but it would certainly be a weird direction, right? Because Apple's never bragged about how one iPhone model is more durable than the other iPhone model, or you should buy this iPad because it's more rugged and durable. No, they typically don't use that as a selling point, which could have some weird inverse inverse effects. Like, yeah, this rugged Apple Watch is way more durable than the new Series 8, which is actually pretty dang fragile. You shouldn't buy that one. So I think the key with the rugged Apple Watch is to be function over form. It has to be kind of ugly to the point that many people may not even want it. I could actually see it flopping pretty bad, considering I don't think most people get cases for their Apple Watches, and Apple Watches are not inherently that fragile. I mean, aluminum can scuff and collect scratches, as can stainless steel, but the people who would buy a rugged Apple Watch, would they care about the chassis collecting little scuffs and nicks like that? And even if you went with like a rubberized carbon fiber chassis, that would still, you know, collect little micro scratches, and I'd be really confused if Apple was interested in making that chassis like replaceable, because the people who are going to be banging up their watch don't really care about those little scuffs. As long as the screen is still operational and they can still see the information on it, that's probably what matters, right? Perhaps what Apple might go in this direction with is finally prioritizing battery life. I know that that's what a huge number of Apple Watch fans have been asking for since the first generation, and year after year after year, Apple has simply done nothing with battery life. It's still just like, yeah, 18 hours, it's fine. Charge it at some point before bed if you want to do sleep tracking, or just charge it overnight if you don't find that information useful, like me. But maybe people who are outdoors and rock climbing or spending a lot of time away from chargers, they could appreciate having a rugged Apple Watch that, sure, may be slightly more durable than your average flagship watch, but because it's bulkier and uglier, they can pack a bigger battery on the inside and it'll last you several days. And maybe you can opt for that watch if you care about having that multi-day battery life. It's just going to come at the compromise of the design being fairly clunky. But the good news is for Apple Watches next year is that in a recent interview, Apple executives talked about how backwards compatibility is still a very, very important factor with every Apple Watch design, and to see them brag about how they've wanted to keep the same watch connectors from the first watch all the way up till now means that we're fairly likely not going to see an Apple Watch band connector change within the next year or two. It'd be very weird for them to brag about that in 2021 while they were actively developing a watch that would ditch that connector the following year. So I think even the rugged Apple Watch will still support all of your typical watch bands. That way you can wear your crazy expensive link bracelet with your rubberized carbon fiber Apple Watch in the future. But I'm actually very interested in this report because, as you can tell by the speculation in this video, I really don't know how it's gonna go. I can't really formulate in my head what Apple has in store for this watch, and it feels a little bit unlike what they have in store for future iPads or future iPhones, where it's like, okay, we get it. The camera bump gets bigger, the camera's improved, the chip is faster and whatnot. Whereas with the Apple Watch, as we've talked about, they've kind of matured. It's kind of peaked with noticeable design improvements year over year you can make, and the display is darn near as big as it can possibly get without falling over the edge of the glass. So where do you go from here when the Apple Watch is already the best-selling watch in the world? So many people are loving it, and so many people keep buying the current design. What do? Well, I guess you diversify, right? You expand, and perhaps Apple's seeing some market potential with making a more durable option, but Apple usually cares a lot about making things look pretty and fashionable, so it's not every day you hear about Apple going into the durable, rugged market and making it more shock resistant and that type of thing. So if there's a way to do a very durable watch that isn't too bulky on the wrist, I'm here for it, and I want to see Apple's approach to it. So please help me understand what Apple could have in store by commenting down below what you guys want to see in a more durable, rugged Apple Watch. Bigger battery life, you know, flat display, chonk design. What do you want the exterior to be made of? That's what I'm struggling with the most. Should it be like a carbon fiber finish? I feel like any type of metal you can use will scratch and scuff over time. So does it make sense to make some kind of hardened rubber for the exterior? I feel like that will still chip and show signs of wear over time anyway. But all that good stuff, let me know what you're thinking down below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.